Alright, so for this video, I'm going to be looking over some custom Archetype support cards that were sent in to me. I'll be reviewing one of Hardleg Joe's custom archetypes, and I'll be going over a custom archetype I made myself. One that's super fun. Let's get into it. So, for the ones I'm looking at today, I had a couple of archetypes sent in to me. There were a couple of rules I had for it. For one, it couldn't be like its own fully custom archetype. They had to be custom cards created to support an existing archetype, and there had to be less than 5 cards, and I tried to choose ones which had proper problem-solving card text on it, because a couple of the ones I got were a little hard to read. So this first one is Girl Magician of Chaos. It has the same stat line as Dark Magician Girl, although it's level 8 instead of level 6. You can special summon this card from your hand if you control no monsters, and if you do, you cannot special monsters for the rest of this turn, except of Chaos monsters. Alright, so it has like a junk forward effect. That also locks you out of special summoning extra deck monsters. If this card is special summoned, you can special summon one Dark Magician of Chaos from your hand or deck. Then send one Chaos Scepter Blast card from your deck to your graveyard. If this card would leave the field, banish it instead. Okay, so if this card special summons itself, you can just special summon a Dark Magician of Chaos straight from your hand or deck. And then send Chaos Scepter Blast to the graveyard, which can then just be added back to your hand with Dark Magician of Chaos's effect. In case you forgot, Dark Magician of Chaos is a kind of Dark Magician card that was banned for a long time, and it has the effect where during the end phase of the turn it's summoned, you can add a spell card from your graveyard to your hand. And that's why this card is setting up the graveyard for Chaos Scepter Blast. It is basically a card that allows you to banish one card on the field face down, if you control a level 8 or higher spellcaster type monster. Which would explain why Girl Magician of Chaos is level 8, now that I think about it. Oh, okay, that's why it's level 8 instead of 6. Okay, so this card, when it's brought out, allows you to go +1, it allows it to special summon itself, and it allows you to set up your graveyard with a card that's probably not worth it. That one's kind of more of a fluff effect. That's a really good addition to it. And it banishing itself when it leaves the field is just, something that Dark Magician of Chaos does as well. Very fitting card for the archetype, appropriately powerful enough to potentially make the archetype a little bit better. Although special summoning a strong monster straight from the deck is pretty powerful. I'd almost say that one effect alone might be a little bit too strong. Although its restrictions, I guess they do kind of balance it out. Can't special summon any other monsters except of Chaos. Alright, next up we have Servants of Chaos. You can banish this card from your hand, add up to 2 of Chaos or Chaos Scepter Blast cards from your deck to your hand. Okay, so this is just a straight up +1. This is a search card for 2 cards with no setup. Alright, right off the bat, that's a really good effect. Let's continue. You can banish this card from the field, target one of your banished Dark Magician of Chaos, special summon it. You can only activate each effect of Chaos' Servant once per turn. Okay, so at least it has a hard once per turn on both of its effects. So the first effect is good enough, that this card would be great. Its second effect basically allows it to replace itself with a Dark Magician of Chaos, which means you'd go +1 at the end of your turn if it survived, which is also good. This card is appropriately really good. Good job. +1, and also replace itself with the boss monster within its own archetype. Next up we have Seal of Chaos. If the equipped monster has of Chaos in its name, it cannot be targeted or destroyed by other card effects. You can banish the monster equipped to this card, special summon one of Chaos monster from your deck, then add one Chaos Scepter Blast card from your deck to your hand. You can only activate one Seal of Chaos per turn. Okay, at first I was like, an equipped card that makes them untargetable or destroyed by card effects, that's a decent effect, but only if it works on an of Chaos monster. And its second effect though, okay, I see where this card's going. It allows you to bring out the Chaos card and allow you to go +1. Is this +1? Because add it to a card, and they both go to the graveyard in order to bring out of Chaos and add, one of their Scepter Blasts to your hand. It's not a +1, it is a hand neutral. No, it's a neutral game state effect that allows you to search out a good monster from your deck and add a spell card from your deck to your hand. Alright, that's a good card. Wow. You're like 3 for 3 on these. Like, these are all really good cards, but they're also not broken good. And in fact, if these cards existed in the real game, they might be meta, maybe? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to try to compare these cards to the meta as much as possible because I just don't. That's not my area of expertise. All these cards seem good, and they don't seem broken. So that's a good sign. These are good examples of custom cards that could probably be made into real cards for this archetype. Alright, the next one is 2 Scepter Blast cards, because a lot of the other cards have to do with sending Scepter Blast cards to the graveyard. Chaos Scepter Blast Retrieval. Target one of your banished of Chaos monsters, special summon it, then add 1 of Chaos card from your deck to your hand. You can only activate 1 Chaos Scepter Blast per turn. Alright, that's good. It's a +1 that allows you, it's like a Monster Reborn +1. That's a really good card. Chaos Scepter Blast Burst. Target 1 Dark Magician of Chaos you control. Banish it during your next end phase. Special summon 1 banished Dark Magician of Chaos, and banish all other cards in the field. If this card is added to your hand from your graveyard, you can immediately set it. I mean, the fact that it's a quick play spell card makes its second effect almost worthless? Almost? No, wait, I'm trying to think, how would this work within the archetype? Dark Magician of Chaos, when he's summoned, during the end phase, you can add a spell from your graveyard to your hand. So if this card can be immediately set, that means it would be set during your end phase and be activatable as soon as your opponent's turn comes around. Okay, I see the synergy now. Because at first I was like, what does it matter if you set it during your opponent's turn? You still can't use it to your turn anyway. But, if you're setting it during your end phase, that makes more sense. Alright, what was its effect again? Banish it, and then during the next end phase, special summon it, and then banish all of the cards on the field. Its effect seems okay. But the fact that it takes like an entire turn for it to go off, and it doesn't have amazing pluses like all the other cards, this is definitely the weakest card of this archetype, despite the fact that, it banishes all the cards on the field. It's a good effect, but the fact that it takes a turn for it, kind of balances it out. Great card design. If I were to give this custom archetype support a grade, I'd give it an A, veering on an A+. Like, great, very powerful cards, but not brokenly powerful, and they definitely fit the theme of the archetype they're made to support. Alright, next up we're going to look at some Gladiator Beast support cards. First up we have Gladiator Beast CESTUS. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can shuffle this card you control into your deck, special summon 1 Gladiator Beast monster from your deck. You can only use this effect of Gladiator Beast CESTUS once per turn. Okay, so this is like Test Tiger. Test Tiger is a Gladiator Beast card that actually used to see play when Gladiator Beasts were meta. And what Test Tiger did was, if you controlled a Gladiator Beast, you could special summon it from your hand. And then you could tribute it, or get rid of it some way, in order to send another Gladiator Beast card you have back to your deck, which would then allow you to special summon a Gladiator Beast from your deck, which would activate their special summon from the deck effect. To like destroy, one of their cards, or special summon something, or add a card from the graveyard to their hand. But since Test Tiger didn't have the Gladiator Beast tag in its name, it couldn't really benefit from any of the Gladiator Beast support. And you also inherently went -1 using its effect. Because even though it did special summon itself from its hand, it itself didn't send itself to the deck in order to special summon a Gladiator Beast. It tributed itself to send another Gladiator Beast back. So you went -1 in order to forcefully activate their effects. This one here has the restriction where you just can't have any other monsters, so it's like a junk forward effect. But it has a self Test Tiger effect, which is pretty good. You could use it to bring out a bestiary? Oh, I don't know how to say its name. It's the Winged Beast one, the really good one. The one entire Gladiator Beast decks were built around. Easy way to get access to that card, pop one of your opponent's spell and trap cards, set it up in the graveyard for later, all without using your normal summon for the turn. This is a great Gladiator Beast support card, with an appropriate restriction, I might add. Next up we have Gladiator's Revolt. It's a quick play spell card where you special summon a Gladiator Beast monster from your deck in defense position to your opponent's side of the field, also draw one card. Now, this is like an upgraded version of Tag Team, I think. Alright, I'm looking at it now. It's Trojan Gladiator Beast. It's a really bad Gladiator Beast card that no one used. Basically has the effect to special summon a Gladiator Beast from your hand to your opponent's side of the field, and then you draw one card. So you ultimately end up going -1 with this, but you're special summoning a card from your hand to your opponent's side of the field. It's like a Trojan Gladiator Beast, but from a card from your deck, which is much better because it allows you to set up a bestiary, or I might be saying that wrong, and getting that card in the graveyard is legit something Gladiator Beast decks try to do. So, not half bad. It's a nice retrain of one of the really bad Gladiator Beast cards, and it kind of fixes the problem that it special summoned the card from the hand, just changing it to the deck. That actually makes this one decent. Alright, next up we have Gladiator's Assault. Shuffle into the deck from your hand, field, and or graveyard fusion materials that are listed on a Gladiator Beast fusion monster, then special summon that monster from the extra deck ignoring its summoning conditions. If a Gladiator Beast monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. Alright, so it special summons the Gladiator Beast monster ignoring their summoning conditions. And I had to double check the fusion monsters, and yeah, it looks like the really good one, Quasar, it sure does gain its effect when it's special summoned, rather than like fusion summoned or something. So this definitely works for it. It's kind of like a Miracle Fusion, or a Dark Calling for Gladiator Beasts, because Gladiator Beasts rely on contact fusion. In fact, they kind of popularized the idea, even though I think the Neospacians did it first. Gladiator Beasts were the first to do it successfully in a meta deck, because they had a Gladiator Beast card which would destroy 2 cards when it came out, which was really good. And then it also has an added graveyard protection, where if one of your Gladiator Beast monsters would be destroyed, you can banish this card instead. That's good. Its first effect is good. Its second effect is good. This is great. Great cards made for the Archetype. Obviously made by someone who knows Gladiator Beasts. Alright, next up we have Gladiator Beasts. I can't say that name. It's a monkey dude. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon one Gladiator Beast monster from your deck. Except Gladiator Beasts this card. You can banish this card from your graveyard, add one level 5 or higher Gladiator Beast monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect to Gladiator Beast once per turn. So this is like Test Monkey, right? Test Ape. There we go. Not Test Monkey, Test Ape. So Test Ape is kind of like Test Tiger, in the fact that it's a Gladiator Beast card that doesn't have Gladiator Beast in its name, because it special summons a Gladiator Beast from your deck. And if it had Gladiator Beast in its name, then it would activate the Gladiator Beast, special summon from the deck effect. That's why it's not Gladiator Beast Test Ape, it's just Test Ape. And what Test Ape is if it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a level 4 lower Gladiator Beast from your deck. This card is obviously an upgraded version of Test Ape. I think I'm getting the theme of this archetype, this guy. He created a whole bunch of Gladiator Beast support cards, which are upgraded versions of some of the worst Gladiator Beast cards, which is great. I mean, Test Tiger was good. I can't really call that one bad, but it is an upgraded version. And this is an upgraded version of Test Ape, and it has a graveyard effect to go +1. But it's only for a level 5 or higher Gladiator Beast monster, which severely limits it. Like, there are some level 5 or higher Beast monsters, especially like the new one that just came out. But also, even if you can't really use a level 5 or higher monster in your hand, they can be used in other ways. Because like a lot of the Gladiator Beast spell and traps require you to shuffle Gladiator Beast monsters from your hand back into your deck in order to draw cards. So it can just be used for one of those. So like, you know, it's not dead in your hand even if you can't like bring it out. Because you usually want to bring out the level 5 or higher Gladiator Beasts straight from the deck. You don't want them in your hand. And this one adds them to your hand, which kind of balances its graveyard effect out. You know, because that would be a really strong effect in the graveyard if it worked on the level 4 or lower ones. The fact that it's level 5 or higher inherently limits it, which I think, you know, that's good design. Good job on this. Now, the final card in this, Ludus Magnus, Fort of the Gladiator Beasts. All Gladiator Beast monsters you control gain 300 attack and defense. Monsters your opponent controls cannot target face-up Gladiator Beast monsters you control for attacks, except Gladiator Beast monsters you control with the highest attack. Once per turn, you can discard one Gladiator Beast card, add one Gladiator Beast spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. Okay, so the attack gain is fine. Not the highest attack gain in the world, especially for an archetype all about battling. Monsters your opponent controls can't target. It basically has like a Seal of Orichalcos effect, where your opponent can only attack your strongest monster, which is fine too. And then its last effect is good. You can discard a Gladiator Beast card to add a Gladiator Beast spell or trap from your deck to your hands. It allows you to search out Chariot, which is the best Gladiator Beast card. And it can even use the Test Ape-like effect that allowed you to add a Gladiator Beast to your hand, even though it was level 5 or higher. Plus, Gladiator Beasts do like to set up their graveyard with some Gladiator Beast cards, so that does work. So, you know, that last effect makes this field spell card pretty good. Alright, now let's go to the grading scale for this one. I do like how you made better versions of a lot of the bad Gladiator Beast cards. Test Tiger, or Gladiator Beast CESTUS, that's definitely a good card. Overall, I'd give this archetype a B+. Alright, now it's time to review Hardleg Joe's custom archetype. Hardleg Joe is another Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTuber. Really good stuff. I'd highly recommend you watch his videos and streams. And he built an archetype based around an existing card. So this was an interesting way to do it. There's this one card called Engraver of the Mark. It's a one-off card, it's not part of any other archetype, and it has a really unique effect. Well, it has two unique effects. And I doubt many of you know who this card is, so let me show you real quick and explain it. Engraver of the Mark is a level 4 monster with 1800 attack, which is neat. It has a hand effect, where during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a card that has an effect which declares one name, kind of like Mind Crush or something, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to declare another name, and then that declared card becomes the new declared name. So it has the unique effect of allowing you to re-declare a name your opponent declared for a card effect. Declaring a name is not something that comes up very often. That's why you've probably never seen this card being played, because it counters a mechanic that's rarely used. It has another effect where, during either player's turn, you can target one face-up card on the field and then destroy it during the end phase of the next turn. So it's spell speed 2 destruction that doesn't take place until the next turn, which is neat. Those are two very unique effects that you don't really see very often, and the card itself has a decent stat line for its level. So the other cards in the custom archetype that Joe made kind of fit along the lines of changing declared names and having effects which take a turn to activate, which is sped up by the Link monster in the archetype. First one we'll go over is True Essence of the Mark. Requires 3 Mark monsters and has the perfect Link arrows, just all bottom 3. And it has the effect of the Mark monster effects that would resolve during the end phase of the next turn, resolve immediately instead. So this card is kind of required for the archetype to work or be playable. And with this card out, it would have made the original Engraver of the Mark it would basically just give it a spell speed to destroy any card in the field once per turn, which is, a really good effect. Now let's look at some of the other custom cards. First up, we'll have Creator of the Mark. So this card is a level 2 tuner monster that can't be destroyed by battle, which is a nice, just passive effect. It has a hand trap effect where you can discard this card in order to change the name of one of your opponent's monsters to another name, whatever ones you want. And it has a graveyard effect where if this card is sent to the graveyard during the end phase of your next turn, you can special summon this card. So if you have the Link monster out, you can use its hand trap effect to change the name of one of your opponent's monsters, and then it will special summon itself immediately, which is pretty neat. It can be an easy way to just special summon this card from your hand. And it has a hard once per turn on the special summon, so it can't be abused. Next up, we have Enforcer of the Mark. This is a level 5 of the Mark monster. And its hand trap effect, all of these cards have a hand trap effect, which is neat. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to declare one card name, and monsters with the declared name cannot attack this turn. So, since a lot of the other cards in this archetype, this made-up archetype, change the name of your opponent's monsters, you can stop them from attacking, which is neat and everything. Its monster effect is much better though. Or I guess I should say its on the field effect. It has a quick effect where you can target up to 2 cards your opponent controls and then return them to the hand during the end phase of your next turn. Or if the Link monster is out, you can just bounce 2 cards your opponent controls whenever you want, which is really good. Although, seeing as this is a level 5 monster that can't special summon itself, it seems kind of hard to play, and that's where this other one comes in, Lover of the Mark. Now, this one doesn't really have a hand trap effect. It's just, if your opponent controls a card with a different name than its original, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is a pretty easy effect to activate in this card's archetype. Also, once per turn, another quick effect, you can target one The Mark monster in your graveyard and special summon it during the end phase of your next turn. So, this card can potentially just special summon itself from the hand, and then special summon one of your Of the Mark monsters from your graveyard immediately if the Link monster is out. And since all of the other Of the Mark monsters have hand trap effects, they can send themselves to the graveyard very easily, so you can basically bring out whichever ones you want. I think this card would probably be the playmaker of the deck. Especially since it's spell speed too. You can do it during your opponent's turn as well. As long as you have the Link monster out. This deck they have really good effects, and that's because they're only, playable if the Link monster's out. Alright, so there's a lot of monster cards in this archetype. Joe made a total of 14 or 15 cards for it. I'm only choosing the 5 best, I think. So that's it for the monsters. I'm going to go over to one of the traps and one of the spells. So, one of the trap cards I picked out is called the Mark of Patience, where if your opponent controls no cards, you can activate this card from your hand. That's already pretty good. Lots of the more played trap cards are basically hand traps, and that's a good restriction to have. And its effect is, if a card is added to your opponent's hand, except by drawing, so if they search something out, you can shuffle all cards with those names from your opponent's field or graveyard back into the deck during the end phase of the next turn. So, if your opponent adds a card to their hand, you can use one of your other Of the Mark monsters to change the name of a card on the field, and then use this one to send it to your opponent's deck, which is one of the best forms of removal. And its activation requirement is if your opponent searches something out, which is something most decks do. So, you can almost guarantee to see this card live in any standard duel. Great card, really fits with the theme of the archetype. Now let's go on to the field spell. There's a whole bunch of other spell cards. They all have really neat effects for the archetype, but I'm limiting this to just 5, so the field spell card it is. If the Mark cards you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, it is not destroyed. So blanket protection from destruction of all forms, that's pretty powerful. Let's see what else this card does. During the next end phase of a turn, the MARKE card would be destroyed. Send it to the graveyard. I don't really know what that effect means. Let's go on to the next one. Your opponent cannot target more than one card at a time. And if your opponent would target a card with an effect, they must declare the name of the card they intend to target. So this forces your opponent to declare card names more often. Whereas usually that's not something that happens very much. And, you know, the Hallmark card, the card this whole deck is based around, Engraver of the Mark, you know, you can use it from your hand to change that declared to something else. So they can't destroy your cards, and if they try to target with a non-destruction effect, you can potentially just stop that from happening. That's neat. This is a full-on protection card, though. It doesn't do anything else besides protect, but protect it does, and it does it very well. Alright, and there's a whole bunch of other of the MARKE cards that I'm not going to read, because I don't want this video to be super long. So, I've read through all of them, and if I were to give this a rating, I'd give it a B. It's decent. But the effects are too balanced. I hate to say it. Like, if a deck was going to be, you know, competitive or viable or something, like, the effects he has for this archetype are great, very unique and everything, but they're a little bit too balanced. And the fact that it all relies on the Link monster, you know, gives it a nice little weakness to it. If you are able to stop the Link monster, you're able to basically stop the archetype, or at the very least slow it down. But, you know, if your Link monster is stopped, or if you're not able to bring it out quick enough, since it does require 3 monsters for it to be brought out, that's a lot of resources to bring out the Link monster. The archetype itself is inherently really balanced, which, you know, makes it a nice archetype, but not something that's... Basically, for an archetype to be competitive, they need to have something about them that's a little bit broken. Like, most of the really good archetypes are all a little bit broken. Now, speaking of broken cards, though, let's go over my archetype. So, the theme of this video was cards which supported an existing archetype. And for this one, I'm going to go over 5 cards I created that were made to be as broken as possible, but, you know, kind of reined in where they're not like, you know, you instantly win the duel with this card. It's just, how can I make a card with effects so broken, but also kind of somewhat believable? Not really. These are joke cards. Like, I based them all on Dragon Ball Z, because there's this thing in the custom card community where most of the most overpowered or broken custom cards made are usually Dragon Ball Z characters. So I created 5 cards for this archetype. That's always my limit for these things. And I tried to make them as broken as possible without giving them, you know, like instant win or unaffected by all card effects types effects. Actually, you know what? Now that I'm looking at this first card, never mind. First up, we'll go over Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Goku. It's a level 4 monster with 5,000 attack and defense. You know, great stat line and everything. It's Warrior type 2, so it's searchable by Rhoda. And its effect is, it's unaffected by all card effects and can't be destroyed by battle. So it's immune to everything. Once per turn, inflict damage to your opponent equal to this card's attack. So, you know, 5,000 damage every turn. And also, you can pay 500 life points to special summon this card from your deck. You know, which means it can be stopped by Ash Blossom. Yeah, so this card, I created it as a joke when I was making a video talking about why Tyrant Neptune was banned. Because he basically had these effects with Nightingale in the graveyard. Except he didn't have, you know, pay 500 life points to special summon yourself from the deck. That's probably the most broken part of this entire card. It's just everything else on top of it makes it like, if this card existed, it would be insane and be banned immediately. Yeah. So let's go on to one of the other cards. Now we have Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Vegeta. This one's a little bit less broken than the Goku card. It's a level 4 warrior type monster with 4,000 attack and defense, you know, so not 5,000 at least. You can pay 500 life points to special summon this card from your graveyard. At least it's not from the deck, and it's not once per turn, so you can use as much as you want. Here's the thing about a lot of these cards I'm going to be showing you. None of them are once per turn. Actually, one of them is. I tried not to give them once per turn effects, just, to add on to how broken they're supposed to be. This card can attack twice and does double piercing battle damage. So, if it attacks over 2 defense position monsters with less than 2,000 defense, it can OTK your opponent. Fun stuff. It's like a Chaos Max Dragon on steroids. And its last effect, when this card is destroyed or banished, you can activate trap cards from your hand until the end of your next turn. Which is probably the most broken aspect of it. So I think this one is appropriately very overpowered. Let's go on to the next one. Alright, next up we have BEFRUS, who is a level 12 pendulum monster with 5,000 attack and defense, just like Goku. I didn't want to go above 5,000 because, I didn't want to be too ridiculous. 5,000 is kind of the cap for Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters. Its pendulum effect is your cards cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. At the end of each player's turn, place 1 spell counter on this card. When this card has 3 spell counters on it, you can special summon this card from the pendulum zone. So it has a blanket protection while it's in the pendulum zone, and it has a way to summon itself after 2 or 3 turns. I just use spell counters, doesn't really matter. Let's go over to its monster effect. Once per turn, during either player's turn, you can activate this effect. Destroy 1 monster on the field, and if you do, banish it face down. The way I worded this effect is, basically, I tried my best to word it so it destroys any 1 monster on the field without targeting a monster. I think I did it correctly, but I might have messed up. I don't know. I also didn't really spell check any of these, so if you notice some spelling errors in them, that's because I'm a terrible speller and I didn't spell check them first. Its next effect, this card is unaffected by monster effects. When this card is destroyed, you can special summon 1 WHIZ from your hand or deck. If anything, this card is entirely reasonable compared to the first 2 I showed. It has a spell speed 2, non-targeting, destroy, banish any 1 card on the field, unaffected by monster effects, and it floats into an even more overpowered card when it's destroyed, which I'll show you next. Next up we have WHIZ, level 12 pendulum monster. It has the pendulum effect where you can place 1 BEFRUS from your deck into your other pendulum zone. I spelled BEFRUS wrong, so technically this effect can't actually search out the other card. And if this card is destroyed or banished, special summon this card from the graveyard and or banish zone. So you can set this card into your pendulum zone and then set up your other pendulum zone with a BEFRUS, and it's not once per turn. So as long as your other pendulum zone is free, he can just keep setting it up. Now onto its monster effect. You can special summon this card from your hand if you control a BEFRUS. Funny that I spelled his name correctly in his monster effect, not the pendulum effect, but whatever. This card effects can be used during either player's turn. Basically, it has 3 negates per turn. One of them's free, one of them costs a discard, and one of them costs paying 1,000 life points. It's only a soft once per turn for each of these 3 effects, and you can use them during both players' turns. I think this one is probably the strongest of the bunch, but I don't know. I think both Vegeta and Goku are also equally ridiculously overpowered, but I think this one kind of is up there with its 3 negates. Now let's go into the spell card. Enter the Dragon. You can add 1 warrior, beast warrior, or divine type monster from your deck to your hand. So it searches either of the 3, either of the 4 monsters I showed previously. You can banish this card from your graveyard to add a warrior or beast warrior monster from your deck to your hand. So it's a Rhoda for its hand effect. It has a graveyard effect for a Rhoda, but it doesn't search out a divine type monster, only a warrior or beast warrior. Also, if this card is banished, you can draw a card. And if it's a monster, you can special summon it. And also, while this card is banished, you can return this card to the deck to send one monster from your deck to the graveyard. None of these effects are once per turn. You could use them all in the same turn. So with this one card, you can go +2 and have a foolish burial for any monster in your graveyard, which helps set up Vegeta, who can only special summon itself from the graveyard. Now, I think this one is probably the most broken card out of all of them, because that's a lot of searches. Or maybe not, I don't know. The other ones are so ridiculously broken that this one seems a little bit balanced in comparison. Now, if I were to give this brand new archetype a rating, I'd give it an F. Way too broken. There's no way this would ever be a real archetype. Alright, and that's it for this custom card video. For the next one, I'd like you to send me in, the same thing. Send me 5 cards to my Twitter, and I'll look through them when I make my next video. And the theme for this one is just 5 cards, make your own archetype. Just a note, make sure they have proper problem-solving card text on them. If you're trying to make monsters which have the most broken effects possible, make sure you don't have instant win effects or just unaffected by everything effects, like my Goku card had. And make sure the spelling and grammar and all of them is appropriate. Otherwise, I'm probably not going to review them. And even if you do have all these things, I might not either way, because I usually get a whole bunch of suggestions for this. So don't get mad if I don't pick yours, and also you don't need to keep reminding me if I don't pick yours. Until next time. Alright, one more thing before I forget. Hardleg Joe is making another custom archetype video that should be releasing the same day I make this one. I'll have a link to it if you want to go check that out as well.